Good evening. We are live on the Believe in Monsters podcast, brought to you by the Believe Network. Joe Gaither, Chris Krogman, and Lucas Berry all hanging out with you to talk some Chicago Bears. We appreciate you jumping in and joining us. You can find us on the Twitter machine at BIM_pod and on Facebook at Believe in Monsters podcast. On YouTube, Chris, have we updated our YouTube? Are we still at BIM_pod on the YouTube?
No, I'm 90% sure we are Believe in Monsters now. But
Excellent.
I'm going to check now.
Well, Chris has been doing a lot of good work on the YouTube page. We want to get you guys over there as well. So we appreciate everybody jumping in and listening to the Believe in Monsters podcast. Also, check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. We got a great episode on tap tonight. We talked to Dennis Ackerman of the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, he's the Believe in Raiders correspondent. So he covers the Raiders for the Believe Network, and we appreciated our time talking with Dennis Ackerman about what the Raiders might do with their draft pick if we can entice them into trading up for the number one overall pick. So we'll keep talking about the number one overall pick. Oh, at Believe in Monsters, all one word on YouTube. We love it. Thank you so much, Chris Krogman, for your great work. And without further ado, and all that being said, Dr. Krogman, how's life been going?
Just performing surgeries, giving people new brains, doing brain transplants for some of these Bears fans out here with their ridiculous takes. You know who you are, and if you don't, you'll be found out.
It's you. If you don't know, it's actually you.
It's actually you. Yes, you in the shirt with the hat. All right, so things are going well. Had a great conversation with Dennis from Believe in Raiders. That'll be mixed in here by our main man, Lucas Berry, who is looking bald and beautiful as always. Mr. Berry, how are you this evening, sir?
That's quite the introduction. Thank you. I'm doing well. We did have a great conversation with Dennis. We have talked to someone who covers the Raiders, the Panthers, the Colts. So we're working our way down the list. We're hearing other teams' opinions. It's good news to get out of the shell that is, Bears Twitter and community, that it's just a giant echo chamber of itself. So it's good to hear other ideas and what other teams are thinking. I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here with you guys. I mean, the season's still going on. I mean, it's crazy if you think about how many episodes we've done where the Bears just haven't played and the season still isn't over yet.
Wait, there's still there's not football on. I mean, after the Bears are out, there's not football on. It's just some guys going around hitting each other and being silly.
Some guys that aren't Bears.
Yeah, some non-Bears folks. Lucas, we'll tease a little bit of the Dennis interview. We don't want to spoil too much, but we talked Aaron Rodgers, we talked Josh Jacobs under other pending free agents and trade or cuts with Dennis. We talked the draft, obviously. One thing that we were kind of talking about on the side that's a little bit of a running theme is apprehension from other podcast hosts to kind of go all in to get the number one pick. Dennis kind of alluded to that. Didn't really talk about going all in. And then last week, we talked to the Panthers gentleman who said that Desmond, who said that they weren't really balls to the wall to get the number one pick. Do you, Lucas and Joe, think that is just timid fan talk, like they just don't want to give up the assets, or do you think that's how these teams are thinking as well?
I think it's timid fan talk. I think that's I think it's people looking at Bryce Young and saying, "Oh, he's 5'8". I don't think that he's going to be. If we draft him at number one, look at the last, questionable size Alabama quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, always getting hurt with the Dolphins. I think they're seeing he may not be the. He's not the Andrew Luck prospect. He's not the prospect that it's like everybody and their mom can see it. It's not the Trevor Lawrence prospect. where okay, he hits every daggum measurable. He's got a cannon arm, super tall, super, he's not a prototype quarterback. And same thing for CJ Stroud. I think CJ is a little closer to that prototypical quarterback. But as we have talked about off air too, the most prototypical in size and size-wise is a guy like Will Levis, and he hadn't really proven it. He didn't really show a ton at Kentucky. He had decent success in the SEC, but never showed that number one overall prospect type skill set, in my opinion. So I think it's timid fan talk and thinking, oh, I don't want to pay the price to go up and get a Bryce Young or go up and get a CJ Stroud. But when it's your job, when it's your livelihood and your paycheck on the line, where as it is for the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts and a handful of other franchises, I think they will end up paying, and I think they're going to get up to number one. And despite these fan talks, these fans are bringing the talks of, oh, if I was on Madden, if I was controlling the game, I'm not going to want to pay that much. Of course, I'll be able to convince somebody to give me a discount. Buddy, it's the number one overall pick. It ain't going for a discount. And Chris Ballard, and I'm sorry, I don't have the Houston's GM in front of me. They're going to be paying that full price for the
Caserio.
number one overall pick.
Nick Caserio. Chris, I think Dr. Krogman just might have planted an idea in my head, but I'm not sure we want to experiment on our guests. So I was going to say we should have these same guests back on after free agency, right? And we'll say, hey, the Raiders miss out on Rodgers. Let's say after his 5 days in the dark cave, he decides to retire, which isn't going to happen. But let's just say he does that. And they don't want Jimmy G. We'll have Dennis on and we'll have Desmond on, 2 weeks before the draft to say, hey, what are the Panthers going to do? And we could go from there. But in all seriousness, I think the answer to your question is kind of a combination of both, Chris. I agree with Joe that because there's not that one just generational type quarterback prospect that everyone can see, everyone's like, nah, we could probably do without him. Maybe a veteran's better. But then on the other hand, we don't know what these teams are thinking and where their thought process is and who's on the hot seat and who's not. I think Carolina, more so than the Raiders, is probably in more of a position to move up. I don't know why. I can just see the Raiders being. I could see McDaniels just maybe having shorter of a leash there and them having to get right quicker where they'll need a veteran. Whereas the Panthers, they have a pretty good roster in place and, maybe they're willing to go up for that quarterback and just see what happens. So we'll see. That's my thoughts on, I think the Panthers out of the two, guests we've had on the last 2 weeks, probably more likely to move up than the Raiders, but we're always not factoring in the wild card either. Like we talked about before the show. Does a team like the Titans or Washington or someone that we're not even thinking of just trying for that number one pick? So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be so interesting. But free agency is the main domino to fall here, I think, first, which is only about 35 days away. Did you guys know that?
35 days feels like a lifetime.
You told me earlier, and I was still bummed that it's that far away, but it is what it is.
35, a month, dude. That's not bad.
I'm just teasing.
It does feel like an eternity. I would say like March.
Like you said, it's
the end of the Super Bowl and the draft.
It's been how long since we last watched Bears football and the season's still going, and now we still got to wait 35 more days?
Right, because this is our Super Bowl in 35 days.
Exactly.
Every year.
Oh, but, Joe. Last year was not. No. Larry Ogunbanjobi was not the guy. He could be this offseason, though. Would that be something if they went out and gave him like a massive contract on day one? Oh, my gosh. Yeah, shocking. 35 days. That's closer than it was yesterday.
What do you think about my experiment, though? Do you think we should have these guests on after free agency?
I think we should have them all on. And then just
once?
Yeah, and then just start
grilling them.
And just start. No, what do you offer? What do you offer? Who's your guy? I think it would be fun. Do you think, guys? I always wonder when guys are making trades, and we don't have any insight into draft rooms. There's probably video out there. I always wonder if teams that are trading back want to know or need to know who the team that they're trading with is going to take, or if they even care. Like if it was me, and let's say the Texans call and they're like, okay, well, we want to move up. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, DeMeco Ryans just took over as your head coach. Who are you going to take? And they're like, send your business. Do you want to trade the pick or whatever? Or are they like, oh yeah, we're going to take Will Anderson? And then you're like, hey, I don't want to do that now. Would you guys want to know?
No, you don't tell them.
Taking? Well, no, you don't want. Yeah, you're not going to tell them if you're the trader upper, but if you're the trader backer, are you saying, well, then, kick rocks? I want a better offer if you're not going to tell me who you're trading, because the Colts are telling me who they're taking.
I don't know, man. That's almost like an ethical question,
right? I think it depends on how much you value the prospect. If hypothetically it's a Will Anderson and you're like, oh, I don't want the Texans to have him, well, maybe that means that we value him
more than
so we're just gonna go ahead and take him. And if that's the case, anyways, then why are we entertaining thoughts of trading back?
Well, because there's got to be a tipping point to where you don't value him that much.
Right. Everyone has a price, Joe.
That's right. It's called an indecent proposal, Joe. Go watch
this is it's making my head spin. My next question for you guys is: do you think GMs actually use those draft charts?
Fuck,
like
no.
the Jimmy Johnson. I mean, if you look at it, a lot of times the value does equal out on it.
I think it's definitely a jumping off point at the very least.
You think they have that in their office?
I think they all have it memorized by now. Like GMs, I think that's part of like your GM interview question. Like, all right, what's the number one draft pick worth? It's worth 3,000 points. And you just spit it out.
My mind is still blown that I just learned this week that a supposedly second round or first round picks this year are worth a mid-second round pick next year. That blew my mind. I didn't realize that's how they were looked at.
Yeah, because I think it has a lot to do with you never know where the other team's going to pick,
Right, but why couldn't you just assume that they would be the 32nd pick in the first round as opposed to the middle of the second round? Or is that just like depreciation? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good point. The other thing is like, well, because you're also adding a fifth year a second time, essentially, or a higher price contract regardless. So either way, if they're 32nd or whatever, you're also adding the ability to attack on that fifth year, but you're adding more money to the cap. I don't know if that factors into it at all. I'm just spitballing and brainstorming on why it could be less valued, I suppose, or
to me,
whatever.
That just blows my mind though, because like if I was thinking in terms of the generic Bears Colts trade that we keep seeing, and the Colts give us, let's just say, this year's first, next year's first, and a second. The Colts, do we really like? In my opinion, they would still be a pretty bad team, and that pick would still be really, really valuable, as opposed to middle of the second round value. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like if we're talking about a team like the Chiefs or Eagles who could win the Super Bowl next year, all right, sure, I understand that, But if it's like a bad team trading their first round pick and that's all it's valued at, I think that's a little mind blowing. That's just kind of like where my mind started spinning. I'm like, holy crap, that's crazy.
Well, we know that teams definitely take what they think of who they're trading with into consideration, because we saw that with the Steelers and Bears this year, is that the Packers apparently had a better offer or a very similar offer that the Bears did for Chase Claypool, and the Steelers, rightly so, went with the Bears because they thought they would be the worst team, and rightly so asked for our second round pick as opposed to the Ravens' second round pick, which again was rightly so because the Ravens fitted better than the Packers, but not as bad as the Bears or whatever. So,
right.
It's interesting to think about all of the angles of these trades and what assets are worth for sure. When it comes to the draft and free agency being 35 days away, like you said, man, dominoes will start to fall, obviously. First domino that fell really was this week in having the Senior Bowl, and our own Luke Getsy was coach of one of the teams, and
the American team.
The American team, they got their ass kicked, didn't they?
I didn't watch the actual game. I just kept up with the practices.
It was like 27-10 national team. That's not good.
To be honest with you, I don't even think I've seen people say on Twitter like the scouts left like 2 days ago. Like they're just there for the practices. I don't think
the funny thing is
cares about that game.
The only thing I heard was that the quarterbacks of both teams were so bad
horrible
that they couldn't really even get a read on the wide receivers because the quarterbacks were so freaking bad. Like, bring your own damn quarterbacks. Like, bring some retired.
Bring Justin Fields.
I was gonna say that, but I think that's probably gonna be a little bit skewed as to. I mean, you're already developing chemistry for this dude. That would be awesome. That would be a leg up.
Senior Bowl.
It's like, hey, whatever coaches the Senior Bowl gets to bring his own players with him, not just Justin. Just like bring everybody just to practice with the team, or not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe NFL players would be like, "Fuck that! I'm done with the season. I'm not coming."
There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
It's still be fun though.
Hilarious.
A lot of coaches go to the Senior Bowl though. Apparently like Mike Tomlin was down there and he's on the field like running drills and talking to players, and like, bro, you're just supposed to be a spectator here. You're not supposed to be down there like scouting and getting a feel for these players. But Getsy did say that his main goal in going down there was to make the Bears better.
Mm-hmm.
He understood he had a mission. He understood the assignment, and the assignment is to get Poles and Eberflus a better insight into these players by having the position of coach on the American team or whatever team he had. So hopefully he did his job.
I'm pretty sure I saw that the whole gang was there, that Poles was there, Eberflus, Cunningham, all them dudes are there at those practices. I mean, to your point, Chris, about, Mike Tomlin being on the field. I mean, this is really kind of it's just kind of gift wrap for you if you're able to coach this team for a week. You're really getting to see what some of these guys in the draft, what they're like interacting in the locker room, how they run through drills, more about them personally. I mean, you only have so many interviews at the combine and before the draft. So something like this, it's just free, free communication that you're not going to have to waste your resources on later down the line. And it's going to be more in depth than any, on the spot interview you're going to have with a kid for 10 minutes. You're spending all week with them.
Right. Yeah, I heard the same thing about the Bears staffers in that all of them were there. I can't remember where I was listening to this. They're talking about, where was the focus? Where was the, Eberflus and company and Ian Cunningham and Poles focus? And a lot of it was apparently on linemen, which I think that's one of the drills and one of the one-on-ones that really gets highlighted at the Senior Bowl is the one-on-one lineman drills, which we've seen, Twitter tape and things like that of various folks that were down there at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and I think there was definitely some, I would call them. I think there's definitely a lot of guys who made themselves a lot of money down there, at the Senior Bowl who might have been, day 3 picks who turned into high day 2 picks. I mean, on his team alone, Luke Getsy had John Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota, everyone talks about. Darnell Wright, the tackle from Tennessee that everyone talks about. He had a few centers, tackle Tyler Steen from Alabama. I mean, playing in that game, they also had DeJuan Jones, who had a great week of practice. So Luke Getsy got a good look at a lot of these guys who, might have been day 3 picks, or some of the guys I mentioned might have been late day 2 picks, who now might find themselves toward the end of round 1 or early round 2 because of how they performed this week. And, the Bears are up, up close and personal to a lot of these guys and able to see, what they like and what they don't like. So I think that was absolutely massive that there was such a good class of linemen down at the Senior Bowl. A lot of these upperclassmen are pretty solid.
Yeah, you said Darnell Wright from Tennessee had a good week, right?
Yeah, and he was on Getsy's team. Him and John Michael Schmitz is interesting to me. I think his floor is just so high. I don't know how the Bears wouldn't be interested in a guy like that early on day 2. I mean, when was the last time we've had a good center?
That guy that goes around punching and choking Adam Hogue.
Yeah. Yep, he was the last good one. That's crazy.
Didn't Garza get some run at center?
Yeah, he might have.
He was solid at line, at interior line, regardless. I mean, I guess Cody was okay, except that guy can't shotgun snap to save his fucking life. That will forever be my beef with Cody.
Well, Joe, what is your take on the Senior Bowl here? I know you said there was some conflicting news on Luke Getsy. Everything I've seen has been really positive about how he was running his practices and interacting with the guys. But I need to hear your thoughts on this, Joe.
I did see the positive report on Luke Getsy's practices, but I also saw negative reports. I must admit I wasn't like reading every single thing, but I think that these were 2 different days worth of practice. So I think maybe one day wasn't as efficient as the other day, but I think it's great experience for Luke Getsy. I think it's great experience for him to kind of realize what goes into evaluation, what goes into running the whole show. So it's going to be very valuable in the draft room. I mean, you talk about one prospect versus the other. Luke Getsy can give you a firsthand feel. So I'm very happy that he was down there. But we'll see what it turns into in a couple of months.
A couple other names that I saw, on the offensive line, Cody Mock.
Yep.
I already pronounced that dude's name. Played all over the line at the Senior Bowl, but is projected as a guard in the NFL. He's just a mauler, so that's an interesting name. Ivan Pace was voted the National League's linebacker practice player of the week. I think Bears could potentially be interested in linebacker in this draft, depending on what kind of happens with free agency and things like that. So it's always interesting. The last time the Bears had an opportunity to coach the Senior Bowl was 2017, and they completely foxed it up as they, coached players like Cooper and a few others that they just Cooper Kupp and a few others that they just didn't pick them. They went with what was that tackle's name or that guard's name that was there the year they were there that they took like the 5th round.
Jordan Morgan.
Yeah, guy with 2 first names. It's always a good idea.
He didn't pan out. I don't even think he played his whole rookie contract.
I'm pretty sure he went to a small small D2 college near me. I think he went to Kutztown, which is like
Kutztown.
Just completely random that they put a guy in the NFL, but yeah, they didn't do well that year.
Well, Fox didn't even want to be there. He thought he was too good for it.
Yeah,
it's good that we have like a young, hungry type coach that wants to be
someone who sees it as an opportunity.
Right, as opposed to like an obligation or some sort of
punishment.
Dick.
John Fox.
Go coordinate all 3. Jokester.
I'm not a math major.
So
We're gonna have to get Joe dubbed in doing his John Fox impressions because that one was solid.
Kyrie Santos.
Cairo Santos.
So yeah, I mean the line at the Senior Bowl is a hot spot, and then the other thing that the Bears would need is there's a few undersized wide receivers if you're interested in one of those.
Boo.
That had
We got
great
plenty.
weeks. Jalen Reed and Tank Dell. Tank Dell absolutely had a phenomenal week of practice there, but I think he might be like 170 pounds.
What about Michael Wilson from Stanford?
Yeah, he had a good week, and one of my favorites is Xavier Hutchinson. He's more of like a bigger type wide receiver.
Is he an X receiver?
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of similar play style to A-Rob.
Gross. You mean he's lackadaisical and doesn't try hard?
Just similar skill set, like not overly fast, runs pretty good routes, gets open, but yeah, the end of that
makes contested catches because he can't get separation.
All I want is fast guys, speed.
You said you're interested in Tank Dell, all 170 pounds of him, man.
Can you
I love the name though.
I mean, I think his actual name is Nathaniel Dell. Oh my God, they don't even have him listed at. They have him listed at 155. There's no way that's right.
Yeah, Tank Dell, 155 pounds.
Dude, he had 109 receptions for 1,400 yards and 17 touchdowns this year at Houston. He was tearing dudes up at the Senior Bowl. He was leaving dudes in the dust. So I don't know. 150 pounds, that's slight.
That is a light build.
I feel like there's no way he's actually 150 pounds.
No?
I mean, 5'10", 165 is the most updated one. So, yeah, he's probably about 155.
Wow. That is
he doesn't hit my measurables. I think we'll pass.
You just said fast.
Is that what we're looking for?
Just said I want a fast guy. I gave him a fast guy. You didn't specify the weight.
It's some of the measurables. Fast is like the starting point.
What about on the other side of the ball, Lucas? Like defensive line, edge guys. Any standouts there? I read Will McDonald.
Oh yeah.
And then
I thought there was a really good week. Keon White from Georgia Tech is another D-line edge hybrid who's getting a lot of draft stock rise. I'm seeing his name float to the end, bottom of the first, early second. This edge class is just, the more I'm looking into it, it's just absolutely insane. So even if the Bears, weren't to take Anderson high and they went with a guy like Carter or went elsewhere, I mean, this edge class is, you can find some serious talent in round 2 and beyond.
Yeah, one guy I read, I think Brugler had him in his top 15 running backs, was Tajay Spears from Tulane.
Yeah.
That he had another good
phenomenal week.
And he just looks really good in space and a lot of juice to his game. So yeah, there's always talent to be found at the Senior Bowl. It's always funny. We're always looking for the biggest thing. Man, there's so many good seniors out there. So I'm really glad the Bears were there to get in.
Honestly, out of all the guys I think this week that I've seen, I'm very curious to see how high DeJuan Jones ends up going. I mean, he's 6'8". He almost has a 90-inch wingspan, which is longer than Giannis. He's absolutely mad, and he was destroying dudes at the Senior Bowl, and some people are saying he's the top tackle in this class.
Wow.
Are we sure
we'll
that these people all share the same DNA, share the same genes as us?
Dude, unreal. I mean, 90-inch arms is just I can't even fathom that.
Have you guys seen that story that came out? And there might have been earlier stories, but where they found like a 15-foot finger.
What?
Something stupid. Maybe it was like 8 feet. It was just like giants used to walk the earth. Essentially, is what the story.
That's DeJuan Jones' finger.
yes, it might be his great grandfather's finger, and he's just gotten a little bit smaller over time. But
He's
God,
listed at 6'8", 360.
I mean, 360 is light at 6'8".
He got some room to grow.
He demolishes dudes. So,
He's Jason Peters, but like 2 inches taller.
Nah, dude, the Eagles used to have a guy that played with Peters, and his name was King Dunlap, and he was about
King
that
Dunlap.
big. He was huge. He was huge.
Yeah. He's a
just an absolute
beast.
massive man. But
you got to be able to move, though. You still got to be able to move.
Yeah, unlike
not
Orlando.
if your arms are that big.
I mean, I'm curious. This right tackle class is another pretty strong position in this class, but it's also strong in free agency. So, you know, I'll be kind of surprised if the Bears don't address it even before the draft. So, we'll see what kind of offensive line help they're looking for by the time draft time comes around.
I mean, Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame was had a pretty solid year, and Jones makes him look just like a baby.
Yeah, DeJuan Jones is absolutely demolishing dudes down there. Joe, when does our friend Dane Brugler release The Beast? When's that coming out?
Good question. I have no idea. Let's see if there's a
it's usually like mid-March.
So we're not too far away.
No, it should be pretty close. I can't remember when it came out last year, but I thought it was like
April 7 last year.
Oh,
April 7? That's like a few weeks before the draft.
Yeah, I can't read 300 pages in 2 weeks, man. What do you like? What do I look like?
Yeah, April 7 last year.
Damn. So we are. I guess that makes sense because they gotta add in all the combine stuff too. So that makes sense.
And they gotta evaluate and talk to everybody. And Dane has to write a little bit.
He has said that most of his stuff doesn't change.
Huh.
Like
so he's
much. Like he'll maybe adjust a few things, but like most of his stuff is pretty set. So I think that's all the reason I really like Dane as an analyst is because he has his own analysis and scouting on all these dudes, and he doesn't rely on other people's opinions too much in that beast. Most of that's his own work. So that's what I really appreciate from him. I honestly think he's one of the best. I think he is the best draft analyst out there right now. I think he's got the best feel on these prospects, better than the mainstream guys on ESPN like Kuiper and whatever his name is, the other dude. McShay and Kuiper.
Todd.
Yeah, I think Brugler has definitely moved into that conversation as one of the top analysts.
Those NFL.com dudes are horrible, like Chad Forbes and Bucky
Jeremiah
Brooks.
is good.
Those guys suck, dude.
DJ is good.
Yeah, Jeremiah is good.
A lot of those other clowns are just awful though, like Forbes and Bucky Brooks. They're always just like nowhere close to where what actually happens.
So Brugler put out his second mock, which has the Colts trading up to 1 for Young, has Houston taking Will Levis at 2, Cardinals taking Will Anderson at 3, Bears with Carter at 4, Carolina moving up to 5 to take Stroud, which I think is interesting. And then he's got the Lions taking Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. Didn't they just take a cornerback in the top 10? Did that already not go well?
Jeff Okudah.
Okudah.
I know. I'm just saying it's crazy.
I think. Do you guys think? I think the Lions could possibly be a dark horse for a quarterback.
Apparently, they really like Goff, man. I mean, they could still do it. It doesn't
like a Richardson, though, like more of a project type QB. I mean, that would make sense.
Shit, dude. Even if you took one that's readier like Levis, now, and Levis is kind of that in between project where he's, got the talent, but probably needs more seasoning or more coaching, and let him sit behind Goff for a year. They've got 2 first-round picks, so
Right.
they could easily go with a quarterback. Shit, dude, even if they went with a quarterback on their second first-round pick, which is 15. No, that's projected trade. 18. Yeah, so Brugler's got him trading up to 15 to take Anthony Richardson, actually. So that's interesting. I got a lot of interesting things to say about interesting stuff.
Well, we got the Super Bowl coming up this week.
What?
Do you guys have
there's other football going on?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, do you guys have anything else on the Bears right now other than we're 35 days from free agency? I got nothing.
Bears are winning this weekend, right?
What? Okay. When is the? Let's look that up. You guys talk amongst yourselves. Give me your thing, and I'm gonna look up something.
Luke, you got Bears 28, and you've got the bad guys 21 this weekend, right? Bears Super Bowl champions.
Well, we might have been able to say that if we ended up beating the Eagles, who beat the Chiefs, but that didn't happen. So,
unfortunate. Oh man.
Are you looking for the franchise tag deadline, Chris?
That's what I'm looking for.
It's tomorrow.
It's March 7th.
All right. So
it doesn't even start until the 20. It doesn't even start until the 21st of February.
Oh wow! So they got 3 weeks. So they got 28 days. 28 days until that deadline.
Most likely to get tagged. Let's see here.
Daron
Payne.
let me pull this up. This will be an interesting. I'll throw some of these at you. I had a Commander's friend, James. Commander's friend recently threw some hypotheticals at me. He said, if you're Ryan Poles and Washington offers you Daron Payne and pick 160 in exchange for Jalen Johnson and pick number 54, are you doing that deal?
Nope. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Not with Jalen Carter. Yeah, not with Jalen Carter available. They're not. They can't trade Payne. Like, the sign-in trades aren't a thing in the NFL. If this was the NBA, sure, maybe, but he's either going to sign a franchise tag or he's going to be a free agent.
I agreed with you. My first 2 words were absolutely not, and then I kind of explained some of that. Then he said, "Would you do this? Would you trade number 54, number 65, and Kendall Vildor for Daron Payne and number 98?"
No.
What was the? Sorry, I missed it.
We're trading Vildor, number 54 overall, and number 65 overall. We're receiving Daron Payne and number 98 overall.
No. Give me your second rounder, and then we can talk.
Yeah, that's.
We swapped. Like, what? No.
You're also. I mean, we're also forgetting that. Like, well, I'm not forgetting, but Javon Hargrave is. I don't see any way the Eagles can re-sign him this offseason. So it's another guy, and then obviously Draymond Jones, who a lot of people really like from Denver. So they'll have options if they miss out on Payne. I mean, honestly, I kind of feel like at this point, Payne is. I'm trying not to get my hopes too high. I'm kind of just expecting him to not make it to free agency. But if he does, I don't see a way that the Bears would miss out on him, to be honest.
It doesn't say
it wouldn't be a money thing. It would be for some other reason than money.
Well, like Raul said, man, they can't pay 4 defensive tackle or 4 defensive linemen. They're going to have to make the choice between Chase Young and Daron Payne. And the fact that they took Young so high and that he has been injured and I don't think they're 100% sure what they have. I don't know if they can. I don't know how they make that decision. Maybe they tag Payne and just wait until both play this year and then pay the one that they want to next year. I don't know. But the franchise tag for DT is going to be $18.9 million.
It's probably what he's going to get anyway.
Sure.
I mean, that's probably
Yeah,
on the high
that's
end.
that's pretty much what Allen. Well, Allen pretty much signed an $18 million deal last year.
Which one of those guys do you think is better?
Between who?
Allen or Payne?
Yeah.
Allen.
Probably Allen's more longevity. Payne,
Yeah, I don't know.
kind of had a breakout year this year.
Yeah, his numbers this year are absurd. I mean, he had 12 sacks and 18 tackles for loss, which is, I mean, it's up there with the best D tackles in the league. So it's
Allen's
interesting.
a
I
fabulous
don't know.
player.
I think Payne is too.
Yeah. Linebacker. So listen to these projected franchise tags. Outside of quarterback, what do you think is the highest projected tag position?
Cornerback.
Linebacker.
It's freaking linebacker.
Well, yeah, because you got Roquan just got his deal.
Okay.
Darius Leonard's making over $20 million.
Oh, it's actually
tag?
not. It's wide receiver. It's really close though.
What is the tag?
No.
Like
I'm
20?
sorry. It is linebacker. 20.9. So almost 21.
I mean,
And then the next two are close. So wide receivers next at 19.7, 19.761, and then defensive end 19.74, which is, yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy, dude. And then cornerback. No, sorry. Defensive tackle next, then cornerback. No, man, I wish this was sorted a different way. Sorry. You know what? What's cheap? Running backs are cheap. Like
that's
Ackerman's
crazy.
like $10 million. Like Ackerman said. You know what's really cheap? Punters, $5.3 million.
Shit, dude. If I was like the Giants or the Raiders, that's a no-brainer. It's like you're getting the tag. If you're Barkley or Jacobs, it's not even really a thought. Just you're getting the tag.
Yeah, shit, dude. You could. Well, then next year they'd have to be on the quarterback tag, right? Essentially, that's how it works. If you do,
I think so. Tag. But with the shelf life of running backs, I mean,
no, for sure,
you're taking away, a decent chunk of their career by doing that. I mean, it's kind of fucked up. And if I was the player, I would be pissed / try and hold out or something. But I mean, at $10 million for those type of backs, I mean, that's a no.
That'd be a bargain.
Exactly.
The super easy one would be Travis Kelce at $11 million. That's what the tight end tag is. That's terrible. Safeties are $14 million. Offensive linemen are only 18.2, which is fairly inexpensive, especially for a tackle.
Are they grouped as a whole? Like, is it just linemen?
That's what it says.
Huh. I mean, if you're getting that money at center or guard, though, that's pretty crazy.
For sure. Well, I mean, what Q signed? Didn't Q sign like 18 million? Wasn't his like 4 for 72?
Isn't he like one of a kind? I don't think many other guys are that high on the interior.
Right. I
could be wrong.
I feel like there's a couple of guards that are close, but I don't know. I don't have anything else Bears related.
Yeah. What do you got for the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl is not a thing this year, but I think the Eagles are going to be too much for the Chiefs. I will go 24-21 Eagles.
Joe Gator.
I'm going 100-0 Bears in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No,
come on,
okay,
Joe.
Okay, I'll play along. No, I think the Eagles will win, and I'll go with the Super Bowl script that was leaked out online, 37-34.
Oh, interesting.
That high scoring. I
did not know that high scoring.
Go ahead, hit your under. Take your Eagles at 1.5. Take Jalen Hurts for your MVP. 3 lay. You made a bunch of money.
I didn't do that for my parlay. Oh well.
I've been going back and forth on this game for a while. I think on paper, the Eagles are a lot better at every position. But I don't know, man. Mahomes is just He's hard to bet against, honestly. I have trouble doing it. I just think in that big of a game, the quarterback and coach could be the biggest difference. The Chiefs don't have business winning this game. They really don't. If you just look at the matchups, but I don't know. I think it's Mahomes' time to win another. I think he's due, and I think he will start to enter the greatest of all time conversation if he pulls this one off already.
You think people will be starting to like come out of the woodwork against Mahomes if he loses his second Super Bowl?
People are already coming out of the woodworks, man. They're like, "Oh, he has the worst 2 Super Bowl performances in NFL history." I'm just like, he's been to an AFC championship every freaking year. He's been in the NFL. Like, shut up. The Chiefs were rebuilding this year, and they're in the Super Bowl. It blows my mind. I'm going 30-24 Chiefs.
30-24 Chiefs. And the home of the Chiefs.
I think it's going to be a great game, though. I really do. I think it'll be a great Super Bowl.
Super Bears Super Bowl. It won't be a great Super Bowl because we're not in it.
Well, what are you guys doing for the game? What are you making? I know Chris. I know Chef Krogman's going to have something good fried up on the grill or something.
We're going wings as per usual.
Just like a giant tray of wings?
Yeah. Maybe some pizza for the kids. And my wife.
Do you make them? Do you make them?
My wife always bakes a cake. She makes like the field, or she'll make like a football. She'll make a cake, I'm sure. Which I don't know why the fuck we need cake for a Super Bowl, but hey, it's cake, so why not?
Hey, heck yeah!
Any excuse to make a cake.
Celebrate the wife making a cake. Thank you, lady. Hell yeah!
Yeah, amen.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
That's a wrap, Joe. Sing us out.
I'm going.
In 12 months, it'll be us.
I'm going snowmobiling on Saturday.
In minus 108 degrees Celsius or whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm turning the big 2-7 on Saturday, so I got that, and then the Super Bowl Sunday, and it'll be a good weekend.
Jesus Christ, I literally could be your father.
Happy birthday,
Father Krogman,
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lucas. Happy birthday to you.
And next year, my birthday will be on the Super Bowl, so I'm glad
we'll be in it.
Wouldn't that be freaking? Man, we'd have to save up like $6,000 each to go.
Dude, it's in Vegas next year too.
Justin Fields.
We'll meet up with Dennis.
Make that 10,000. Make that 10,000. Dennis, you got us tickets to the Super Bowl for next year, bro.
Oh, dude, the Raiders games are already like $5,000 to like sit in that lower level. I can't even imagine. The Super Bowl there is going to be outrageous, dude. Holy shit. That'll definitely be the most expensive Super Bowl ticket ever.
You think I could sell a kidney for a ticket?
Don't sell your kidney. Sell your child's kidney.
Before we log off, would you guys rather go to an NFC Championship game at Soldier Field or the Super Bowl if the Bears were in it?
NFC Championship.
I would rather go to the NFC Championship as well.
Game at Arlington Heights.
The Bears are home. The Bears are playing a home game.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Soldier. Soldiers are going to be fucking cold and miserable.
All right, so you would rather do that than go to the Super Bowl, though?
Yeah, dude, Super Bowl is better on TV.
I agree. All right. We're all on the same page there. All right, Joe, take us home.
Bear down, Chicago Bears. Make every play clear the way to victory. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Put up a might with a might so fearlessly. We'll never forget the way you thrill the nation with your T formation. Bear down, Chicago Bears. And let them know why you're wearing the crown. You're the pride and joy of Illinois, Chicago Bears. Bear down.